How's it going, everybody? Monday Morning Quarterback, episode 181. Tonight we're going to talk torsion bars. We've done a number of these talking torsion bars, whether it's torsion bar dynoing or how torsion bars are measured. This one we're in the shop, filmed it in the shop, kind of went over my routine for taking care of torsion bars and checking torsion bars and how to make them last as long as possible and know that they're in good condition in a race car. So that video will be coming up momentarily. Before we jump to that, we're going to answer a tech question I got from one of our previous videos, which is a good one. We get this a lot. We talk about this a lot during our shock seminars. And that is when I'm compressing a shock and I hear a noise, whether it's a gurgling noise or shocks can make different noises when you compress them slowly. What is that? So it can be a number of things. So depending on who built the shocks, what brand of shock it is, it could be as simple as fluid flowing through a small bleed hole in the jet that's making that noise. It could be the shock. You're hearing air bubbles because of cavitation, so a gas shock that doesn't have any gas in it, or a twin tube shock that potentially has had the gas bag break. That's why we've mentioned before, always fully extend the shock, slowly compress it. If there's a dead spot in the shock, if it's a monotube shock, first thing, make sure there's gas pressure in it. If there's gas pressure in the shock and you have a dead spot, it's leaked enough oil that shock needs serviced. If it's a twin tube shock and it's been sitting on a bench for months, cycle it a couple times by hand. If you continue to have that dead spot, needs service. It's either leaked oil or the gas bag has a hole in it. What we see when they sit on a shelf for a period of time, the gas bag will kind of relax and there'll be a little void. Once you cycle it a couple times, a lot of times that'll go out of it, and then it'll feel fine. So twin tube shocks are a little bit of a different animal, but still really popular across our landscape of racing. So great question. Different shock noises can be different things. Shocks have small bypasses, and sometimes you just hear the noise of fluid trying to travel through those small bypasses. Another one we get when customers are here, or I'm in a customer's trailer and we're dynoing a shock and we're maybe going through the clicks, is all of a sudden you'll get to a point in the adjuster where there's like a funny harmonic and there's almost like a squealing sound, and you go like 2 clicks in either direction and it goes away. That's just the point where the needle is in the jet and the fluid physically trying to flow through there, and it's just creating a harmonic and noise. You don't necessarily see that noise on the dynograph, but sometimes you can hear it. So good question. So without further ado, we will jump into tonight's video. Again, we filmed this in the shop, and enjoy this video, and then we'll come back after and discuss it. We get lots of questions every season about how long do my torsion bars last? It's a very complicated question to answer because that varies based on the conditions that your torsion bars are put in. A brand new set of torsion bars can be junk the first night if you have a big crash and you land back on your wheels and you take that torsion bar to its yield point. So every bar can only be twisted so far before it fatigues the metal to the point that it's not going to react the same ever again. So in a normal environment, you're racing, haven't been in any upside down instances, you're not doing wheelies slamming down, you haven't bicycled and landed really hard, 20 to 25 races is all I would recommend using a torsion bar. It's a wearable item just like your tire. The challenge is you can't see when it's worn out like you can on your tire. So we're going to do a quick little video here. I'm going to show you how I take care of the torsion bars on Hudson's car and how I would recommend for anybody to keep track of the nights they have on that bar, the corner that it's been in so we never twist it the opposite direction, and how to get the most life out of torsion bars. They're expensive and you don't want to just be putting new bars in all the time because you accidentally put it in the wrong corner or you didn't keep track of how many nights were on it. So once you get your bars out, you have them all clean, you've cleaned your bushings, everything looks good. At this point, I always check my torsion arms, make sure everything looks good there. There's no cracks, they don't look bent. Check the heims at the end of the arms to make sure they're tight. Re-grease the slider bolts on the bird cages. The last thing I'll do is I'll re-grease the bars before they go in. But what I'll show you here is how I mark my bars. Is I'll just put the corner that it was used in and the date that it was put in new. I do that so I can keep track of how many nights are on the bars. I keep track of that in Pit Logic. So I'll have that bar number, that bar serial number in my Pit Logic setup. I'll know how many nights I used it. And then at any point throughout the night, if I changed it, the new bar number would go in. If you don't use Pit Logic, the way I would do it in the olden days is I'd just put a piece of gaffer's tape on there, and with a paint pen I'd just do a tally mark. So every night I'd run it. When I do the maintenance, I'd put another tally. When I got to 20, 25 nights or crash before then, they'd go in the recycle bin. It's very important to put your arms back in the same orientation. So I always put numbers to the arm. I think that's kind of the industry standard. And I always do all my markings on that side too. So it's really easy to see what the number side is. That's the side that will go towards the torsion arm. And again, you can mix your right rear to your left front as long as you put it in the same orientation, but you wouldn't want to flip right rear to left rear because then it's going to be twisted the opposite direction. People will say, well, so-and-so told me that that doesn't matter. I know, testing it on our torsion bar dyno, the bar does go crazy when you flip it. Rates will jump all over the place. At some point it settles back in, but I have to think that's bad for the torsion bar. And I would think about it like this. If you took a piece of aluminum and you kept bending it one direction, and then you flipped it and you bent it the other direction, like a piece of sheet aluminum that would go on your car, well, when you bend it that other direction, it cracks. And the torsion bar is not necessarily going to crack, but once the molecules are going one direction and then you tell it to go the other way, I think they freak out a little bit. I'm no metallurgist, just speaking from experience, dynoing thousands of torsion bars. That's how I would go about it. So the last thing I would do is grease them before they go in the car. I know people use a variety of things. Some people use a liquid lubricant. I just use old-fashioned grease, but I put it on very thin. You don't want a bunch of excess grease because it kind of just pushes out of the bushings and makes a mess. So I'll show you how I grease the bars, and then if you have any questions, pop in, we're happy to answer them. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any questions pertaining to that topic or any of racing topic you would have, shoot a comment on this video. Sometimes I direct message those folks back if it's kind of a specific, if it's a general one like we answered earlier in this video. I love to cover it with everybody so they know the answer. Be sure to tune back in next week. Episode 182, we're going to do a two-parter on ride heights and scaling a race car. So we're filming that this week in the shop. We'll have a two-part video that starts next week on that. It might drag into 3, depends on how long it is. We don't like to keep these too long. For the previous episodes, check them out on our YouTube page. Please like and subscribe. If you're on Facebook watching this, share the video. Our goal is to get this out to as many people as possible. It's not so much about monetization for us. You know, we make pennies on these videos, even on YouTube. But we do them so we can share with the racing community and help educate everybody and spread our knowledge. So thank you for watching. Hope you have a fantastic week, and maybe we'll see you at the races this weekend.